Welcome to lecture 3 of module 5. In this session, we'll be discussing about mobility management as well as inter-cell interference coordination. When it comes to mobility management, we'll deal with the concepts of S1 mobility, X2 mobility, and the RAN procedures for mobility as well as the paging concepts. And inter-cell interference coordination is also discussed with respect to downlink as well as the uplink perspective. Mobility management is the discussion for this session. Mobility management, the functions can be categorized into two groups. Mobility that happens within LTE systems, which we call intra-LTE mobility, and mobility to other systems, such as 3GPP based upon your UMTS, Universal Mobile Terrestrial Service, or non-3GPP, nothing but your inter-RAT mobility. So mobility within LTE systems and mobility to other systems are being classified as a functionality of your mobility management. Intra-mobility can happen with respect to S1 interface. There are two interfaces to be discussed, S1 as well as X2. When your when your mobile moves from one eNode B to the other eNode B within the same RAN architecture that is attached to the same mobility management entity, the mobility that takes place is over X2 interface. I repeat, X2 interface. When your mobility based upon your movement of your user entity, which moves from one eNode B to the other eNode B within the same RAN attached with the same mobility management entity, the mobility that takes place over X2 interface. When your user entity moves from one eNode B to the other that belongs to different RAN, that is attached to different mobility management entity, then the mobility takes place over S1 interface. So we shall have a discussion with respect to S1 mobility, where you can see the slide, the discussion with respect to mobility management over S1 interface. The mobility management or S1 interface has different phases of execution, as you can see, which is almost similar to your UMTS serving with respect to serving radio network subsystem with respect to the steps of execution, the preparation phase as well as execution phase as well as the completion phase. The first preparation phase, once the decision has made for handover and the target MME and eNode Bs are identified, the network with respect to the means of execution, the network allocates needs to allocate the resources on the target side so that the target should be ready for allocating, for accepting the resources. The mobility management entity sends handover request to the target eNode B, requesting it to set up appropriate resources for your user entity. Once the resources have been allocated, it sends handover acknowledgement request with respect to handover reference, where you can see the handover request acknowledgement to your mobility management entity of your source. Once mobility management entity gets this message, it sends handover command to your UE via source eNode B. So that's what with respect to phase 1, where the decision of handover takes place. When it comes to the next phase, execution phase, one UE receives handover commands. With respect to handover commands, once it receives, it responds by performing various RAN related procedures needed using your random access channel. Various RAN related procedure operation, how you are going to access using your RAC. That's what your random access channel. While UE performs the handover, the source eNode B initiates the status transfer, where your PDCP context of your UE, nothing but your packet data conversation protocol context of your user entity, is transferred to your target eNode B. So thereby the source eNode B also forwards the data stored in the PDCP buffer to the target eNode B. This happens during your execution phase. So once the status and data have been transferred to the target eNode B and UE is able to establish RAB, radio access barrier, on the target eNode B. Later it sends handover confirmation message to target eNode B, that you can see in the figure that is described during your execution phase of your S1 mobility. The third phase, where we say is what? Completion phase. when the target eNode B receives the handover confirmation message. Once it receives the confirmation message, it sends handover notification such as message to your mobility management entity. The mobility management entity then informs the source eNode B to release whatever resources it has been allocated, to release the resources used by user entity. This is how the connection establishment is done with respect to S1 mobility, where we have uh, management with respect to S1 interfacing means of execution. The other means of mobility management that has been done with respect to X2 mobility, intra mobility that happens with respect to S1. So which is with respect to same RAN network, that is also same mobility management entity. When it comes to different RAN or different mobility management entity, we have X2 mobility interface. So here you can see X2 mobility management, how the flow of information is being divided with respect to three phases. So it's a default mode actually. X2 mobility is a default mode of operation in LTE. So it also has the three phases with respect to preparation phase, execution phase, as well as the completion phase. Once handover decision has been made by the source end, it sends handover request to the target eNode B. Once target eNode B receives this message, it works with mobility management entity as well as the gateway, especially the service GPRS gateway, to set up the resources for UE. This happens in the preparation phase, followed by each UE will have a same RAB, nothing but radio access barriers, at the target eNode B with the same quality of service as it had on the source eNode B. The target eNode B responds to source eNode B with handover request acknowledgement once it is ready. So this handover request acknowledgement, once it is obtained in the all these means of execution or the transfer of information takes place during your preparation phase. During execution phase, on receiving the request acknowledgement, once it receives the request acknowledgement, the source eNode B sends handover command to your UE within so that while each user entity completes various RAN related handover procedures, source eNode B starts the status and the data transfer to target eNode B. So this is done as per RAB basis for your UE, nothing but radio access barrier services that have been accomplished by your appropriate UE. So this happens during your execution phase. When it comes to the completion phase of your X2 mobility, once UE completes handover procedure, it sends off nothing but it sends your handoff message to the target eNode B. Later, target eNode B sends a path switch request. You can see that switch request has been sent and acknowledgement with respect to mobility management entity and service gateway switches. And the GTP tunneling from your source eNode B takes place to the target eNode B. Finally, the target eNode B sends a message to source eNode B to release all the resources used by user entity. Thereby, thereby establishment being done with respect to X2 interface, which is the default mode of execution. So this is about the two means of mobility, S1 as well as X2 mobility management over two different interfaces, S1 interface as well as X2 interfaces. So when we talk about the other procedures, RAN related procedures for your mobility, so various mechanisms as well as signaling procedures, what we discussed with respect to various elements of LTE, we did not have the discussions of what aspects of mobility happen within RAN. So RAN related mobility procedures will happen between user entity and eNode B, or between user entity and mobility management entity, in order to enable user entity to hand over from one eNode B to the other. These procedures are classified into two distinct cases, such as mobility in RRC ideal case and mobility in RRC connected state. When we say about ideal state, your user entity decides when a handover is required and which frequency should be allocated. Each based upon this, each neutron, when I say enhanced neutron, allocates the priorities of different frequencies, and these priorities are conveyed by system information message, which is carried over your broadcast channel. The priority of each cell, when I say about each cell of execution, which is determined by UE, is based on the priority of frequency and the radio link quality also. This happens during your RRC ideal state. When it comes to RRC connected state, eEutron determines the optimum cell and the frequency of the target node. So in order to maintain the best radio link quality, how it needs to be accomplished. So the handover is initiated by eEutron based on one or more events that are triggered by means of execution based upon the reports of execution. So what happens in LTE? In LTE, the radio link quality is indicated by reference signal received power. That's what your RSRP, reference signal received power for an LTE, and by reference signal code power RSCP for UMTS. So all the radio link quality are indicated by two means. That's what your RSRP as well as RSCP. RSRP, that's what with respect to reference signal received power, and RSCP, reference signal code power for your UMTS cell. So based all the factors such as user, based upon user entity capability, call type, as well as the quality of service requirements, and all the policy related aspects are also included in your handover decision process. So when we do all these things, the measurement report from your appropriate UE, which contains the radio link management for the neighboring uh, base stations, is the primary mechanism used to trigger and control the handover procedure. How do you have a control over handover procedures? So based upon intra LTE and inter RAT mechanism, which are handed out with respect to intra LTE, has 5 events that are triggered: A1, event A1, event A2, event A3, and event A4 and A5. So A1, the serving cell radio link quality becomes much more better than absolute threshold. So we are going to configure, we are going to have the much more enhancement when it comes to the threshold value in case of event 1. When it comes to event A2, the serving cell radio link quality becomes worse than the absolute threshold. And in A3, the neighboring cell radio link quality becomes much more better than offset, which is related to the serving cell. And when it comes to A4, the neighboring cell radio link quality becomes better than absolute threshold. When we talk about all these events in the intra handover, the A5, the serving cell radio link quality becomes less than the absolute threshold, and the neighboring cell radio link quality becomes better than the absolute threshold. So whatever we discussed with respect to intra LTE, it is similar with respect to intra RAT handover. There are two events that can trigger the measurement report, that is event B1 and B2. Event B1, the where we have an information of neighboring cell radio link quality on different RAT becomes much more better than the absolute threshold value. And then even B2, the serving cell radio link quality becomes worse than the absolute threshold, and the neighboring cell radio link quality on different RAT becomes much more better. So the RAN mobility management in LTE has been designed to trigger all the measurement reports whenever they are need to have a significant change in radio link quality. So this is done based upon the means of execution. The procedure in this case, which are used, are RAT resources, which are used to dedicate for RAT random access channel resources, and thus by eliminating the possibility of collision can be done by following all these RAN related procedures. When we talk about the paging is a control function of RRC protocol. The paging message is used to inform each and every UE in both the condition, whether it is idle state or connector state, about the system. So and the UE in RRC idle state also monitors paging channel to detect incoming calls. So when we talk about enhanced Eutron, which initiates the paging procedure by transmitting the paging message. When I talk about eEutron, enhanced neutron, that is going to initiate all the paging procedure information by transmitting paging message at UE page occasion. We say PO. So paging where we have one PF paging frame in one radio frame in which eEutron can page one UE. So to make it simple, one PF may contain one or multiple subframes in which paging message can be transmitted. So this each subframe is called as what? Paging occasion, PO. Paging information is carried on physical downlink shared channel when we are going to implement in the physical implementation. So in related to paging occasion, the user entity is configured to decode your PDCCH, which is CRC scrambled, cyclic redundancy check scrambled by paging radio network temporary identifier, PRNTI, and then decode to corresponding shared channel PDSCH. So in order to reduce power consumption, the UEs may also use discontinuous reception in the ideal mode of execution. Thereby, the paging message, after receiving the paging message, the user entity can switch off its receiver so to preserve the battery power. So these are some of the procedures which we need to follow with respect to RAN in terms of the mobility aspects. So the next discussion will be related to your interference impact. So what happens with respect to ICI? That's what your inter-cell interference. Each UE, each mobile will suffer ICI due to frequency reusing in other cells. That is, same spectrum will be reused in each cell, which causes the high level of inter-cell interference. Here we will discuss about how to mitigate these techniques for both uplink and downlink transmission. So in downlink, we have three basic approaches. That's what ICI inter-cell interference randomization, which is achieved by scrambling the code word after channel coding with the pseudo random sequence by just scrambling the code word after the channel coding with the pseudo random sequence with the cell specific scrambling. So inter-cell interference from neighboring cells is randomized, then interference suppression is achieved. So without scrambling, what happens? The channel decoder might be equally matched to interfering signals as to the desired signal on the same radio resource. Thereby, the channel decoding may be equally having a match factor. The ICI randomization is been done by has been applied in systems such as UMTS, Universal Mobile Terrestrial Service. When we talk about ICI cancellation, if your user entity is able to decode the interfering signal, it can regenerate and subtract them from the desired signal. So this is obtained by using multi-user detection at the user entity. Nothing but where we are going to have a mobile station. Each of your mobile station will have multi-user detector. So ICI cancellation can also be done by in spatial domain also by having a separation with respect to means of execution. Linear spatial interference cancellation with the statistical knowledge of interference channels is one of the option to mitigate the cancellation. So in ICI coordination, where we have two means of execution, so which is usually achieved by applying restrictions, how to download a resource management between the neighboring cells. When we are going to have a sharing of resource management between the neighboring cells, how to apply the restrictions can be static or semi-static with the different inter E node B communication requirements. Static ICI coordination mainly done during cell planting process and doesn't require frequent reconfiguration. That's what static indicates, which doesn't require frequent reconfiguration procedures. Especially with respect to static fractional frequency reuse (FFR). Some performance limitations such as cell loading can also be obtained in case of your static ICI coordination. When we talk about semi-static coordination in the downlink, which requires reconfiguration on the time scale of order of seconds, just within a reconfiguration is also required in case of your semi-static. So this information exchange, what we are talking between neighboring E node Bs, can be transmission power or a traffic load on the different resource block. So when we coordinate about multi-point transmission in LTE, to improve the cell edge performance, we need to have a much more advanced techniques with more sophisticated coordination mechanism, which is developed in mitigation of your ICA parameter. One such technique is coordinated multi-point transmission as well as reception. So in downlink, this COMP, we say coordinate multi-point transmission reception, implies dynamic coordination among multiple geographically separated transmission points. So this is usually deployed by having a beamforming or multi-cell joint transmission. So COMP with joint transmission can eradicate or remove all ICI and transfer intercellular with respect to cellular network as well as interference limitation with respect to symbol, what we come across by means of noise limitation system. The practical issues with respect to COMP transmission is the type of dynamic ICA. We can't have dynamic inter-cell interference coordination, as well as inter E node B signaling can also be done with respect to efficient downlink and reference signal design aspects. So these are all things that comes with respect to ICA mitigation in case of downlink. When it comes to uplink, we have ICA randomization, which is achieved by scrambling the encoded symbols, which are done prior to modulation. where your UE specific scrambling is used instead of user entity specific scrambling is used in case of your ICI randomization. When it comes to ICI cancellation, in case of your uplink, it is more applicable in uplink as eNodeBs have much more higher computational capabilities and more antenna elements have been deployed. And in uplink power control, the power control is an efficient way with respect to not to mitigate your inter-channel interference in the uplink. The fractional power control is used so that ICI coordination for your fractional frequency reuse is also a very important factor. How do you, when it comes to coordination of your multi-point reception, here also comp reception, nothing but your coordinate multi-point transmission reception will be developed in uplink LTE, where we are going to have an expectation to have very limited impact on radio interface specification. So this about your intercell interference coordination as well as your mobility management. That's the end of the session as well as the end of the module discussion. So where we have the power levels representation for neighboring cells usage, you can see how your edge users have been deployed. So that's the end of the module discussion. Thank you.